This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome in, my friends, to another episode of Behind the Pen. My name is Mike Rankin, and I will be your host today, and I am joined by Brandon Swanson. Thanks, man, for hopping on Behind the Pen.
Hey, thanks for letting me in. Thanks for letting me in.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be our first show together, and I wanted you to come on this week specifically because I focus on a lot of baseball. And baseball, it's my favorite sport, and I want to kind of take all the baseball content and jumble it in. Now it's June 30th, so we got a lot to get into. But before that, I want to plug our Patreon page because that's very important to us. Patreon.com/Most Valuable Podcast. Become a Patreon. Donate a couple bucks a month, and it helps us provide better content for you by allowing us to do different things like you saw on YouTube. We're implementing video now, so whatever you can donate, thank you very much if you do so. Otherwise,
and if you don't, you're dead to us, but that's fine.
I didn't say it, but honestly, there's some truth to that. So, hey, if you can't we get it. It's okay. But check us out on YouTube at Most Valuable Podcast and subscribe to our channel. We're picking up some steam, Brandon. I don't know if you've been checking it out.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you who are listening and commenting and being a part of this. And I just want to throw this out there, too. Behind the Pen, thank you all for listening. If you want to throw in some comments down below, let us know what we should talk about next week if you want some baseball talk, want us to talk about your teams, let us know. We'll do it.
Absolutely. And also, if you want to just support Mike Rankin personally, he's always standing out on the corner of 111th and Cicero. So that's usually the spot he's working. What time are you usually working out there, Mike?
Well, I really have no other life than that, so I'll be there all day, every day, 24/7.
Okay. Do you have one of those like made up signs where it's just on a piece of paper, or do you go get it laminated at Kinko's?
I'm gonna be honest. It's actually quite pathetic. I'm just standing there waving at people.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes I'll just stand there and they're asking me, "Hey, man, I've seen you a couple days in a row now. You haven't left," and I'm like, "Well,
nowhere to go."
So
nowhere to go.
That's where we're at right now. But all right, Brandon, what do we got today? We got baseball, obviously. We're going to end the show with some Bears talk, but right now we're going to bring up some baseball news that went down today before the trade deadline. It involved a couple playoff teams who are trying to work their way there to that point. The Miami Marlins doing some stuff. They consider themselves a playoffs team, and I can't argue with their thinking there because they're going out and getting the best reliever in baseball right now in Fernando Rodney.
Yeah, they absolutely are. Rodney to Miami, and you said the best reliever in baseball right now. You're not kidding. 28 appearances for a Padres team that was going backwards, and he's got a .31 ERA. He's allowed one run. That one run just recently, I think in a game this past week. I mean, Fernando Rodney, he's a guy that, for the Marlins, I mean, for anybody, but definitely for the Marlins now, you don't have to worry about that back end of the rotation. That back end of the bullpen. He is going to be a guy that comes in, he locks it down.
Absolutely, and he's a great compliment to A.J. Ramos. Now, I'm not sure if because Ramos has been the guy in the ninth, and he's been locking down as their closer for the Marlins. Rodney comes in as an eighth inning guy. I think Marlins have some flexibility there. And we mentioned Rodney, this goes back to his time with the Cubs last season. And last season, I'm not sure how many appearances, 17 appearances or something like that. He had a .81 ERA. And it was just his dominance after being traded to the Cubs is just taken off from there. And like we mentioned, he's still got the devastating fastball, the mid to upper 90s fastball. Devastating slider, strikeout pitcher, power pitcher, averaging about a strikeout per appearance. So good for the Marlins. They have a lot of young talent. I'm excited for this team.
Yeah, they really do. And, you add Rodney, guy 39 years old.
Still got
39 years old. He still got it. And he still has the crooked hat on his head. That also never changes. But that's huge for this Marlins team. And if any team that's considering themselves as being a playoff team, what are you going to have to do? Pitching. And everybody talks about, okay, you can have hitting, you can have the starting rotation. It's all about the bullpen. It really does come to the bullpen.
Look at the Royals last two seasons.
Absolutely. That's how Kansas City got to the World Series and then certainly won the World Series over the Mets last year. Rodney being placed into that Miami bullpen, the back of it, that's going to be huge. And when you're not scratching your head on who's going to be coming in 7th, 8th, 9th area, you're a team that's pretty safe and you're a team that can be feeling pretty good about themselves, especially in a close 1-run, 2-run ball game.
You know, the Cubs just got done playing the Miami Marlins in a 4-game series, and Chris Bryant, who is arguably one of their best hitters, he said that the Marlins bullpen is the toughest they've seen all season. You mentioned the importance of pitching, and let me mention the starting pitchers as we wrap up this Marlins topic real quick. Jose Fernandez. This guy is coming off, I believe it was Tommy John surgery, or it was some kind of injury to his arm. It was devastating. He missed a lot of time, and they're kind of restricting him in terms of his innings. Fernandez is dominant. He's been better than Kershaw in specific categories, and it's been an extremely impressive performance to this point with the Marlins rotation. Tommy Kohler, he's still young. He's gotten roughed up a little bit, but Adam Conley and Wei-Yin Chen, they signed Chen to that deal prior to this season. So, look, the NL East is up for grabs in terms of the wild card because I don't really suspect a second wild card team out of the NL West. So that leaves the Cardinals, maybe the Pirates, and the Marlins and the Mets gunning for that final wild card spot. And, with the Nationals, I think the Nationals are at the top of the East, and then underneath them, fight for a spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we certainly know that Atlanta's not going to get it, and we know that Philadelphia's not going to get it from the East. But I think that the Mets, they're a team that's always a team to watch, especially around trade deadline time. I mean, we talked before we came on the podcast here today is that all the Mets needed last year was to sign Yoenis Cespedes.
Right.
Cespedes wasn't the only deal. It was everything else that then came from within their organization. They had a lot of things happen. Guys got healthy and they got hitting again. But, who's going to be that team again this year? Will it be the Mets again? Possibly Miami. I mean, Miami's really trying to position themselves right now. Since we're talking about them, they're trying to do it. Pittsburgh, watching them play against on Sunday Night Baseball, play against the Dodgers in a game where, maybe Clayton Kershaw wasn't 100% healthy because he was pitching, and a couple of days later he's on the DL. He's on the DL right now. That's a huge loss for the Dodgers, and they've got already multiple starting pitchers on the disabled list. But could it be Pittsburgh? I mean, St. Louis is never going away. St. Louis is never going away in the NL Central. It's just, we could talk about just who could be making it as a wild card team or who's going to end up winning the divisions. I mean, people would say it's going to be the Cubs in the NL Central. They wouldn't be wrong, I don't think. But we could talk about this
we can go
for
on
hours
and on
because
and
it's so
on.
exciting. Because who's going to be that second half team? Because do you want to start off really, really strong? Absolutely. But who is it that finishes strong? So cliche, but really, who is going to be the team that has the better second half? Because if you just had mediocre, even if you went 500 the whole way in the first half, but you come out strong,
right in the middle of it.
You come out with a Cubs start in the second half.
Hey, White Sox are. It's 23-10 they started.
Hey.
But we'll get to the White Sox in a minute. But yeah, I just want to build off what you were saying with this whole playoff situation because 2 wild card spots opens up all of these other possibilities for many teams. So that also affects the trade deadline because your fringe teams are kind of in it, kind of on the bridge of not being in it. So what do we do here? So it just creates an interesting dynamic there. Moving on, though, you mentioned the Dodgers and their starting pitching. They did lose Kershaw. Not sure how long he's going to be out. I don't know how serious his injury is, but he's on the 15-day DL. They went out and made a trade because, boy, they need to rely on their starting pitching, as you mentioned. And they went out and got Bud Norris from the Atlanta Braves. Now, Bud Norris, is he the guy that they want to build, obviously not build around, but use as a stable piece of the rotation? I mean, he's still got it. He entered, I think he was in the bullpen with the Braves to start the season, comes back in June, and does pretty well as a starter. He's got a 2-3 ERA as a starter since June something.
Yeah, he's overall this year it's not been good, but he's on a team that's not very good. 3-7 with a 4.22 ERA. He is 2-1 with a 2.08 ERA in 6 June appearances.
Oh, there we go.
5 starts.
Very nice.
And this is a Bud Norris who just a couple of years ago, back in 2014, went 15-8 with the Baltimore Orioles. So last year wasn't too good. He was 3-11 with an ERA close to 7. We'll just forget about that. But he's a pitcher who 2 years removed in 2014, 15-8. If the Dodgers could get anywhere close to maybe even a half of that, they're probably doing better for themselves than what they were, because what they are right now is very, very hurt.
Sure. And
so they bring in a guy who's a veteran arm in a rotation that needs, I think, a veteran presence right now with everyone on the DL.
Stable arm who can provide innings. And, I think they made this move because they don't really have faith in their farm system to call a pitcher up. You look at Kenta Maeda and Scott Kazmir. Those guys are kind of stable, but they're not they're not having a solid season in terms of keeping the Dodgers afloat. I feel like the Dodgers are just a fringe 500 team moving forward. They have a lot of young talent. Corey Seager could emerge as one of the top 5 shortstops in the NL if he's not there already.
Yeah.
And you look at Jock Peterson as well, Yasiel Puig. We can go in depth in the Dodgers. It's just does this Bud Norris trade bolster their playoff chances? Meh. I don't really see any decline, or I think it's just a move that keeps them afloat moving forward past the deadline.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I was actually going to use the term, it's going to just keep them afloat.
Well, there we go.
It's going to keep them right there. What I think that the Bud Norris deal does, and I think that, Dodger management can come out and say to the public and to the fans, this might be able to move this, or they'll probably drop the word might. This is going to be able to move us forward,
right,
and move a better spot. But let's be honest, behind closed doors in the war room, they're looking at it and they're going, he's going to help keep us stable. And right now, that's what we need until we can get, Brett Anderson back, Brandon McCarthy back, Wood, any of these guys, and Kershaw. Some of these guys we may not see again. But Kershaw's a guy, they get him back, they get him healthy. But it's every 5th day. You need more than every 5th day. If you're winning on every 5th day, that's freaking cool.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things.
Yep, and I personally believe that the Giants are just too good to get off their throne up there. It's an even year, so those stupid Giants always posing a threat on those even years. So we'll see what happens in the NL West. Like I said, I think the Dodgers are fringe playoff team. Not sure if they're going to be able to make it, but it's exciting. The trade deadline's at the end of July, as we know, and the All-Star break hasn't even happened yet. But people are moving around, and it's an exciting thing in baseball. That's what you love.
Absolutely is. And you always see, a couple of these before the deadline deals. People, they want to start moving now if they can. And if you find the right team, you can do that.
Sure.
And you kind of start to see where, I don't know. I mean, that obviously, the San Diego Padres, they've been a seller for, now it's 2 years in a row.
Yeah, ever since they went all out that one off season, it's been a disaster since.
Exactly. But then you have to look too. I mean, Atlanta, they're going to be a seller as well. But just how much are they going to sell? Are they going to give up Julio Teheran? Are they going to give up anyone along those lines? Are they going to give up Vizcaino in the back end of their bullpen? Who else is? How big of a seller are you going to be? Or are you going to make a move where, we'll sell, but we're not going to give up the entire farm for anybody? And, in their case, it wouldn't be the farm. They'd be getting a farm.
Yeah.
But
absolutely. No, this is the time of year where baseball gets really exciting, the brunt of it, and they're in the focus of the sports world.